Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing the ongoing war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. While at the same time, I wanted to make a side trip into the realm of so-called traitors. Well, it appears that the person allegedly that released certain U.S. military Pentagon documents over the internet, Discord, has been, quote-unquote, captured. So the person that the government alleges released these documents is a young National Guard airman. And let's look at him. There he is. That is the quote-unquote traitor, as reported by Congressional Representative Swalwell, who has his own history with Chinese spies. So this young airman that you're looking at right there, again, is the reported person who released those Pentagon documents. This is not an officer, guys. This is an airman. This is an enlisted person who falls under a vast chain of command. This airman makes about $13 an hour. And Representative Swalwell, let's look at Swalwell. There's good old Swalwell. Just bought a house in Washington, D.C. for $1.2 million. And we know this individual has been compromised by Chinese spies. It is highly likely that most of the Democratic Party in California, in the California Congressional District, have been compromised by Chinese spy rings. It's one of the most opportunistic targets for the Chinese. But a SWAT team did not show up at the home of Representative Swalwell and arrest him. A SWAT team did show up and arrest this kid, a lowly airman making $13 an hour, who falls under a vast chain of command. Did a SWAT team show up and arrest Swalwell? Nope. Anybody looking at the house that he just purchased in Washington, D.C. for $1.2 million? Nope. Is there anything in Wikipedia that even mentions his relationship with Chinese spies? Nope. But this kid, a $13 an hour lowly airman, a SWAT team shows up in an armored fighting vehicle and arrests him. I get the security measures by law enforcement, but seriously, that was reasonable. That was necessary. I don't think so. How many individuals in this kid's chain of command have been arrested? How on earth does a airman in the National Guard who makes $13 an hour Now, he doesn't really make $13 an hour. That's the equivalency, okay? Who makes $13 an hour. He's a part-time member of the Air National Guard, the U.S. military. Does his weekend of service, and then he goes home and he does his normal job. Again, a kid. And they are going to throw the book at this kid. And I would imagine you are going to hear nothing that happens to this kid's chain of command. We are in serious, serious, serious problems here in the United States, folks. Serious, serious problems. Just to give this kid, if you really believe that the information that he released was that detrimental, to give him the ability to get that information out, the U.S. military, the U.S. intelligence services has some soul searching to do. Not to mention this guy, Representative Swalwell, who again buys a $1.2 million home in Washington, D.C., has homes in California, and dates members of Chinese spy rings. Here's another one. That shit-eating grin. Anyway, enough on that. Should have probably done a completely separate video, but I didn't. Back to the Ukrainian war, the Russian-Ukrainian war. We have reports now that Leopard 2 main battle tanks are now active in the areas near Kherson. So originally I reported yesterday that Challenger 2 main battle tanks are active in the vicinity north of and east possibly of Seversk, operating with air mobile units of the Ukrainian military. Again, we can't confirm that. We have no reliable video evidence that the Ukrainians have yet deployed the Challenger 2, but that is the report that is circulating in certain wire networks right now, that the Ukrainians have deployed the Challenger 2 in this area. And then again, elements of the Leopard 2 main battle tanks operating in Kherson Oblast, most likely on the other side of the Dnieper River, taking shots at Russian forces. There's also the possibility in other areas the Leopard 2 could have been deployed. But at this point, no more than 18 Leopard 2s and 14 Challengers have been deployed. And it looks like they're being broken up into smaller platoon-sized elements. So again, we're not going to see any, at this point, unless this is all misinformation, and the Ukrainians are starting to amass a brigade or two brigade-sized elements with Western-made equipment. But right now, the information that we're getting indicates that the Ukrainians are taking these armored vehicles, breaking them up into small platoon-sized elements, and spreading them out throughout the Ukrainian brigade organization system. And that's kind of where we sit right now. Another interesting tidbit as we look at this map. Now the question is how accurate is this map? It's difficult to say. But you can see in areas such as the Mykolaiv Oblast, you can see a number of Ukrainian brigades starting to amass, such as here, the 22nd Mechanized Brigade, 41st Mechanized Brigade, 21st Mechanized Brigade. And do we have formation dates on these? No. Down here to the south, you have two full Ukrainian naval infantry brigades. The 37th Marine Brigade, the 38th Marine Brigade. And normally these Marine brigades had been subdivided into small battalion-sized formations operating along the front line. If we go further to the north, you see even larger compositions of Ukrainian brigades, such as here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Ukrainian brigades. 82nd Air Assault Brigade, the 118th Mechanized Brigade, the 117th Mechanized Brigade, 31st Mechanized Brigade, and 32nd Mechanized Brigade, and then additionally here, the 63rd Mechanized Brigade. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Ukrainian brigades there, and then here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, another 6 Ukrainian brigades. Now, again, how accurate this map is, difficult to say, but according to this site, and according to this map, they're saying that there's now upwards to 12 to 13 Ukrainian brigades massing in this area. Now again, are they going to be moved and used in a southwardly direction towards the land corridor to Crimea? Or is this misinformation? Is the reality these are going to be used elsewhere? And do these even exist? Are these ghost units? Are they ghost brigades? Or are they real functioning brigades? I would suspect that based on the mobilization that has occurred inside of Ukraine, I would tend to believe that these brigades exist in some form. Now, how well equipped they are, look, the Ukrainians started out this war with about 800 tanks. They've lost about half of those, so they may have 400 tanks with whatever else has been supplied by the West and whatever else they've been able to capture from the Russian Federation, and then keep that operating in a manner where it can be used by themselves. So again, difficult to say. I mean, these units could be hollowed out. They could be riding around in Toyota pickup trucks. It's just difficult to say. They could be, some of them could be very well equipped. We just don't know at this point. Obviously, a lot of Western equipment has been brought in, so the likelihood of them possessing at least MRAPs and larger four-wheeled armored vehicles is probably fairly certain. And then obviously the amounts of anti-tank guided weapon systems that have been delivered, but the amount of heavy main battle tanks that they deploy, usually a Ukrainian mechanized brigade has a tank battalion of about 40 tanks attached to each of these brigades. Now we do have a tank brigade down here to the south, the 5th Tank Brigade. Now it's difficult to say what that force looks like, how badly damaged has it been. It's, again, difficult to say at this point. But again, not a lot of movements on the line. The Russians continue to pressure Ukrainian forces in Bakhmut. We could see at some point Bakhmut is no longer Bakhmut and has been at some point renamed by the Russians. But it looks like the Ukrainians are starting a withdrawal from areas near Bakhmut, and that undoubtedly is going to occur at some point. So that's where we sit for today. I appreciate everyone joining us, and as always, have a good day.